Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Jeff. We lost a goddamn football game.
If we're being honest, it took longer to lose a football game than we anticipated. So
yeah,
maybe we should just be happy about that. I don't know.
And yeah, but man, it still hurts. You were having these dreams of 4-0, and
yep,
that they're gone after an insane 90 seconds of football.
Yeah, I was gonna say we were about 2 minutes away from realizing it, right? Like we were that close.
Yep. So anyways, this is Podcast Versus Everyone, episode 175. I am Craig Powers. With me, as always, is Jeff Newser. And Jeff, when WSU gets the ball back with 12 minutes left, they're up by a touchdown, or they're up by 5, and you're just thinking, man, if they could just put together a drive here, a touchdown drive, take some time off the clock, that would be so huge. And they perfectly did. A 6-minute drive. Obviously got some help from a targeting call, a really stupid personal foul penalty from Oregon. But they did, and they punched it in the end zone. Nice little pop pass play to Farrell. And it, you're like 6 minutes left, up 12. But still, it's not like they really stopped Oregon from moving the ball very much throughout the game. I think Oregon maybe had 1 3 and out, and it was after that interception that was
in quotes,
one
right?
of them,
air quotes,
in quotes, one of the many things that we'll talk about, I'm sure. But other than that, Oregon was pretty routinely moving the ball. And so that always kind of made you, in the back of your mind, that please just make them take time to go score. And then they score really quickly on the first drive. And then we do absolutely nothing. We don't really bleed much clock at all. And then a quick score again. And then a fucking pick 6. And then it's like, oh my God, what the hell happened? So yeah, one of those games that you've seen happen to other college football teams, like these crazy just turnarounds. And if you're a neutral fan, you're just like, what an insane game. But when you're the fan of the team that is sitting there staring 4-0 in the face and this huge win and then it's just taken away all in what seemed like no time. It's insane. It's a tough way to lose. It's a super tough way to lose. We were definitely pretty somber at the tailgate. It was definitely you had less energy. Everyone's a little more irritable. It's just you kind of compared to Wisconsin where we just kind of carried through. We were tired, but we just carried through by the adrenaline and the happiness. But then you go to a game like that, it's just you got kicked in the gut and it's just we want to. It was an early game. We got all this time. I had my kids with me too. That makes you a little more tired, but still, it's just finding the drive to have a good time is just especially when you have your kids with you. It's I'm tired. Let's And yeah, I think we went back to the hotel room like decently early and all that. And like, the kids, did what they do. But yeah, so it's that, it's tough. Like a game like that. We've definitely been through a few, and that was far from the worst one. But it sucks. Like just to be so close to a huge win. I mean, obviously, I tweeted after, like, to be outgained, they were being outgained by something like, with like 250 yards for most of the second half. And so you're just like, is this going to come back to bite us? Like, are we going to be able to come up with these stops inside the 10 over and over and over again? Well, no, you don't really do it when the team scores from outside the 50. Like that's then it's no longer stopping. Your ability to stop inside the 10 is no longer helpful, and that's why we've kind of talked about many times before with Dickert's defenses, like preventing those big plays from happening has been key to their success, and it was key to their success throughout this game, but ultimately it was allowing big plays. The biggest of big play to happen at the most crucial time is what did them in.
It was interesting that after Oregon's, I want to say, it's after our TD. Our TD with whatever it was, it's like 6:42 left. ESPN's win probability model put us at 95% to win. Which I was like, that seems to be a little high to me. And, because I was thinking about it this way, like, even their model had Oregon as like a 65% favorite to win, which is really really a 2-to-1 situation, right? Like a 2-to-1 favorite, basically double the probability of the other, right? So you're saying, okay, a 2-to-1 favorite with the ball needs to get a touchdown, a stop, and a touchdown to win. And I'm like, you're telling me that only happens 5 times out of 100? Now, maybe it does. I don't know. I'm not the one who calculates these things. I don't know how exactly they come up with it. But it sure didn't feel like that was a 5 in 100 occurrence given the way the rest of the game was playing out. And I know the algorithm doesn't know that, right? They don't know that Oregon is ripping off huge plays and then just, coming up empty in the red zone. The algorithm just knows, the game state. But, at no point did that game feel safe, I guess. Like it felt like it was always just sort of hanging on by a thread. Like, as you mentioned, 1 3 and out. That was it. And it's not even like, they had 1 3 and out and a whole bunch of other short drives. Like, no.
5 and out, 6 and outs.
Yeah, like they didn't have any of those. Oregon did have a 5 and out on their second possession of the second half. 5 plays, 20 yards, and a punt. But other than that, man, that was kind of it. And they were picking up chunk plays really all over the place. And, it just feels like at that point, number one, there's sort of two ways it might get you, right? One is, at some point you're not going to stop every trip inside the red zone. Like you're just not. But then the other one is, maybe you give up a big play and that a big play for a touchdown. And, as you mentioned, that hasn't happened much this year, but it happened there on the go ahead TD. And that's really where, things kind of flipped. And I know I felt like, I don't know about you, you can tell me maybe what the energy was in the stadium. Did that really take the life out of the place, or were people just like, all right, time for the offense to go win it? Cause the offense was coming off a, 12 play, 81 yard touchdown drive the series before.
No, well, they weren't. They were coming off the brutal fucking 3 and out where they took about a minute off the clock.
You're right.
Yeah.
So what I sort of mean is leading up until those 2 drives. So was that the thing? Like the previous drive was so bad.
Yeah, like after what they did the previous drive, I don't like I speak for myself, but I wasn't. There was only 85 seconds left or something. Like I was like this offense has not been a chunk offense much like all season. So like
yeah, that's true.
I didn't feel like when they do, like they're just that it maybe against Colorado State they got some chunks, but like most of the time they've not done that a lot, and so it's and they have some problem, protecting the passer. The offensive line had their worst game by far in this game, and especially in the run game, they really, really did not do well in that. And then that was a huge part of the previous drive that just ended it before it began. It was like a 5-yard loss in the first handoff, and Cam just didn't have time, so they're having to throw these quick screens over and over again. They're having to kind of do these kind of roll out and throwbacks a lot just to kind of trick the defense. And kudos to Morris for stuff like that, but he's definitely, it was said in the Slack, and I don't know if you said it or who had said it, but he definitely seems like he's working around his liability from the offensive line.
That was that was PJ.
Yeah,
PJ was it just seems like they're just trying to figure out ways to get stuff off without having to hold the ball for 3 seconds for people.
Yeah, and when he had to, I mean, luckily he's very good at avoiding the rush. He's very good at stepping up, and he's good at not running backwards too much. He did it once, so he did like on like the last drive he did. But it was. I would say no. Like I didn't feel like it definitely felt like some of the energy, like a lot of the energy was sapped out. It's always hard to tell on offense too, because people don't want to make noise, but
right.
But there was like, a big cheer from the students, like, come on, let's do it. And like the players came out and they're like, yeah, let's do it. But then, obviously that didn't take long. I think it was the second play. It was the pick six.
Yeah.
And then that was just one of those moments, like those, like, wow, like that's it. And so it was I think like a lot of the energy was sapped out when Oregon took the lead, because it kind of felt like we were stemming that the whole game. Oregon would pull within a score. WSU would come up with a timely score to push it back out to 2-score lead. And then that would just kept happening. But then when they got the ball back with 3.5 minutes left, and it's like they ran big clock against Idaho. They ran big clock against Wisconsin. So it's just like it maybe they can do it one more time. Like maybe they're just really good at this, but they get that huge loss to start the drive, and you're like, this is not going to happen. Like they're not pulling to 2nd and 14 because they're not going to take any risks to get. But then of course, like Cam they try to throw the ball on 2nd down. Cam gets pressured. He throws the ball out of bounds, which you're like, don't do that. But then you're like, also you don't want to take like a 15-yard sack. So it's like,
right.
But so ultimately that WC would have needed that time. So it didn't matter that he left too much time. But yeah, that drive, that insanely quick 3 and out, it just felt like at that point you're like, oh no. Like when Oregon scored really quickly on the drive before, you had that, but then you're like, maybe we could if we just get a couple first downs, we're going to leave them with so little time.
Before.
Yeah.
We've seen that
we
story
just need
before.
a couple.
Like, we've done it.
I think Oregon still had 2 of their timeouts, I want to say. So, we need a couple first downs, and then you're good.
Man, you just even pick up 1 first down.
Even one, and then you make them use their timeouts. You probably bleed a minute off the clock, a minute or 2 off the clock, and just make it a more stressful situation for them. Normally, they get the ball back with still like 2:30 or something. A decent amount of time, especially in college football. Yeah. And then there was, I can't remember which drive was the Oregon had a 4th down. I think it was the drive before that. They had a 4th and 2. That really, if you look back, like that would have been the game if WC stops that 4th down. Yeah. Also, we were mad about the clock not running when they missed a call. The Bo Nix clearly didn't get in the end zone. Refs called a touchdown. They hold the fucking ball, whatever.
Yes.
But ultimately, all that time didn't matter. WSU actually would have needed that time. But yeah, it's just we can get into like all the wonderful refereeing in this game at some point. And again, like not blaming that. Like our defense did not show up the way that they have. It's very clear. Like there is an issue.
Way you can say it, dude.
There is an issue in the secondary, like a massive issue in the secondary because as good Bo Nix looked like a fucking superstar, aside from one pass.
Yeah, I think that very few. So I think you can sort of like kind of parse out what was going on in the secondary by the fact that. We had, your leaders in your solo tackles were, and your leaders in overall tackles were your two safeties, Jaden Hicks and Sam Lockett III. And poor Sam Lockett, man, he was,
and
we were seeing his nameplate a lot because he was turning around and chasing guys.
It's not all on them. Like WSU couldn't get much pressure on Nix, and Nix. Also very good. He's very tough to bring down, but also WSU was sending blitzes and they were not getting home, especially in the fourth quarter.
They just couldn't get through.
They were just getting stonewalled.
And Nix gets rid of the ball.
And we mentioned
the QB stat thing, and it's like like he gets rid of the ball. Like he was not giving them the opportunity to get those hustle sacks. Like he was outside of one really, really, really horrible decision, he was absolutely nails all game. Just did not give us an opportunity at all. And the line is really good too. Like this isn't just Bo Nix just gets rid of the ball. Like we couldn't even get close.
We mentioned last week that Oregon had yet to give up a sack. They played Georgia. They have not given up a sack. They played BYU. They haven't given two very good defenses. And they had not given up a sack. And WSU, who very much relies on lost plays, only had a couple, 2-3 in the rush game, and then none in the passing game. And that was just a tough way to live. And I think most of the lost plays were in kind of that red zone area, which was huge, obviously. That's what kept Oregon at bay for so long, despite all this yardage they were going up, but it was just, but you could see that what highlighted the weakness in the secondary is when they were able to make those plays inside the 10. Oregon's play calling was a little interesting. They were running a lot of horizontal plays in a short window. In that 10-yard window where the speed of our linebackers and the speed of our defensive ends can kind of easily cover that area. And you saw that happening. That's why, Travion Brown was making huge plays and Mauioga making big plays in the red zone. But when those windows weren't tight and Nix had time to exploit or the running backs had more room to maneuver. It was tough. Now WSU did a decent job at Oregon's run game, which is a very good run game. 32 for 178, 5.6 per rush. There was a lot of like Bo Nix scrambles in there. So it's not, that's, I think the run defense is still, I still come away saying they're pretty solid. They'll be able to do a decent job against most teams. What's scary? Yeah. So Nix himself had 6 for 31. But yeah, I mean the running backs did average quite a lot, but I don't know. It
felt like this was the first game where the defense really kind of wore out.
Because they were just
really okay. Hang on, I'm going to look at the stats here real quick. Off the top of my head, it seemed like the running chunks were getting bigger as the game was going on.
Yes, second half it seemed like Oregon.
I'm going to try to confirm that. Yeah, I'm going to try to confirm that. I don't know if that'll work. Okay, second half.
So
rushing
it's crazy
yards.
though.
No, they had way more rushing yards in the first half, so I don't know.
Well, because they were
did have.
they were
Yeah,
trailing
they were
most
throwing,
of the second half.
And the other thing is they passed the ball a lot. Like
That's way more than they normally do.
Yeah, and so it was
because they actually threw the ball more than they ran the ball. So it's not normal for them.
Which is not normal for them.
Also a product of being down 2 scores most of the second half.
First half, they were basically 50-50. It was 19 rushing attempts, 20 passing attempts. And that's not rushing attempt adjusted for the quarterback or anything like that. But yeah, and then the second half, it was second half, only 13 rushing attempts for 4 yards per attempt. So I don't know. So I'm full of shit. Nah. I mean, it's it was there. I don't know. It's your brain makes you think, maybe it was like this, and you're trying to explain things away, and the reality was, I mean, they did get gashed at times on the run. It did seem to me, speaking of just sort of like Bo Nixon running, the pass rush obviously was not great, but it also seemed like they were more concerned than normal with their rush lanes. Because that was something that we talked about after the Colorado State game, was that, Clay Millen had run at times. Like when we were sitting up, watching the game up above, like you could just see these huge lanes opening up in the middle, because they really didn't have a whole lot of pass rush discipline in terms of where they were going. And so there were sort of these big lanes right up the middle of the field that Clay Millen was able to step up into or run into. Not nearly as many of those on Saturday, so I have to think that was intentional. But also, you sacrifice something with your pass rush if you are, concerned about sort of staying home and not letting him get loose. So there's obviously a balance there, but we definitely seemed, concerned with that. And for whatever it's worth, he didn't rip off any massive runs, but he did have a couple of conversions where he scrambled. And, I don't know, man. He was really good. All I heard coming into this year was Bo Nix sucks and Oregon's really screwed because Bo Nix actually isn't good, and all this stuff. And man, he looked pretty, except for, again, one really not good throw, which, was, obviously largely what allowed WSU to sort of be in control. He was really good otherwise.
On that, they ran they basically ran the same play twice in a row. They got a conversion on it the previous play, and then they run the same little flat route to the running back, and Mayoga read it. And at no point did I think he was taking that thing back until about he got to the 50-yard line, 40-yard line, maybe inside the 40. I was like, oh wait, what? That's just seriously one of those plays. You're sitting there can we win so that can be one of the greatest plays in Cougar football history?
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
That was so insane. That was one of the most insane plays I've seen a Cougar player make. And and plus there was a penalty on Bo Nix during the return. We saw the flag and we're like, oh fuck, it's coming back. It's coming back. And you see him do the chop block, the block, and you're like, oh damn it. But no, it's because Nix came in and took out a guy's legs, tackled the wrong guy, and so that was hilarious, and that was funny, and that put WSU up.
Yeah, I was gonna say flashback to Super Bowl XL, right?
Yeah.
Where Matt Hasselbeck did that, got called for that.
Yep.
Yeah. Malgoa, he is quickly putting a vice grip on that middle linebacker spot. Travion Brown obviously got hurt before Colorado State. Malgoa played, basically all of Colorado State. And man, Jake Dickert said some stuff about him on his coach's show about him being a future NFL guy. And I was like, really? But he's really young. He is a true sophomore. Really, really young, seems to be getting better by the game.
He's got the size, that's for sure.
Yeah, if you had asked me if he would have the speed to pull off what he pulled off on that interception, I would not have thought that he had that kind of speed. So
it was pretty funny. The last
maybe
guy,
Travion Brown had that kind of speed,
yeah,
but not Mangoa. So I'm thrilled.
The last guy chasing him was an offensive. I was gonna say the last guy chasing him was an offensive lineman, and that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
If you look at the replay,
well,
it's just pretty funny.
I'm surprised there wasn't anybody else really I don't know. Maybe the Oregon guys gave up on the play. I honestly don't know. I haven't watched that close, but sure seems like maybe somebody else might have been trying to track him down, but alas, it wasn't. So yeah, I don't know. It's still an awesome play. I mean, even though we didn't win the game, it'd be the sort of play you put up on, the back home video if you win that game. But
yep.
Alas.
It's sort of play that like is just in like Cougar highlights every time the Ducks. But yeah, you got to win the game for those amazing plays to happen or amazing plays to be remembered. It'll probably just be kind of a footnote that like only the diehards will. You remember when he did that? That was amazing. But yeah, he's got the size and obviously has some speed. And I think we talked about last week how maybe he's not always sound, like gap sound and overrun some plays, but he's just a sophomore. And
that's stuff you can teach.
I think it's kind of crazy. Like we figured that front seven would be the strength, but it was more predicated on like the defensive line, the edge rushers. But it's pretty clear our strongest group is the linebackers. Obviously with Deion Henley and with now with Mauigoa and Brown, both have Brown stepped up. He played really well against Oregon, I think, and especially if you throw Armani
Marsh into that mix as well.
Exactly.
Because, he's not strictly a linebacker, but he plays a linebacker type role. Yeah. And Dicker regularly calls him his best defensive player. Like that, he does that regularly. So yeah, I think I'm absolutely on board with you. And then when they go in those goal line situations and they bring on, so basically they're playing all three linebackers at the same time. It's like,
yep.
Yeah, those guys go out there and eat.
Yep. Was hoping, Henley would have some big plays on like a big stage and stuff, but he definitely made some nice plays. I think Mauigoa stole the big play. But it's just tough. I've seen some consternation about them playing conservative or something down the stretch defensively. It's like they weren't. They were sending five guys on like every fucking play. Like they were blitzing the hell out of them because they just they needed those. They wanted a lost play. They know that's. And then it came that on the play on the long touchdown. It was single coverage on that wideout, and they exploited it. Why was there single coverage? Because they were blitzing. Like, it's not like, I don't understand what people are looking at sometimes. Like, it's like they're like, oh, we're giving up big yards late in the game. We must be playing prevent defense. At no point where, like, we always play five fucking defensive backs. Like, that's, like, so maybe you see five and you think there's six. I don't know. Like, we always play five defensive backs. Like, it's not that weird to have that many in there. Like it's just people it just drives me crazy. Like, come on. Yeah. Like they were blitzing and it just wasn't getting home. Like you'd see a guy come and just get stonewalled over and over again. It was so frustrating to watch. At that point the ends were so gassed, chasing Nicks around and like it was just that's the thing, eventually a team like Oregon that recruits the way they do, they have guys they're just going to exploit like when you make a mistake. And that's what they did. And they were moving the ball.
And they also didn't make mistakes. Like, I think that's really important to point out because
just one.
Just one, but like, and obviously that was a really massive one, but when you look at the rest of it, Nicks didn't throw any other interceptions. Frankly, did not come close to throwing any other interceptions. No fumbles, 0 fumbles. And I
No sacks.
no sacks. I don't recall an offensive penalty on them either. There probably was, but I certainly don't recall any. So yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of like, let's see. Okay, penalties. Okay, they had a false start.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a false start on the first play of the game?
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah.
When the crowd's all hyped. Yeah.
Yeah. There was
it was very early.
Okay, so there was the personal. They're calling the Bo Nix penalty an offensive penalty. That's not an offensive penalty.
Whatever. Yeah.
There was the kick catch interference. That's also not an offensive penalty, really. So, and then there was a delay. There was a delay of game on fourth down that they took on purpose. So yeah, their only offensive penalty was a false start on the first play of the game. So yeah. There you go. There you go. They just did not make the same kind of mistakes that allowed us to beat Wisconsin. And I think there's two ways you can look at that. One is you can sort of be bummed out about the loss and everything else. Another way to look at it is hot damn. Like, look at how close we were, and the defense was a mess. Didn't do any of the stuff that we are used to them doing. We didn't really get any offensive or any help from them making mistakes on offense. Oregon, played, other than the pick six, played an extremely clean game. And yeah, they had those penalties, in the fourth quarter, on defense, but man, like, you look at these penalties overall, like, yeah, it's a lot of yards, right? They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15-yard penalties. So that'll rack up a fair amount of yards. But the honest truth is they only had 8 penalties. One of them's on purpose. Another one was that weird ass, chop thing with Bo Nix. Like, when you look at it, they played a relatively clean game, and, we nearly still pulled it off. And I don't know, man. Like, I'm curious what you think about, if this has changed sort of your thoughts about the trajectory of the season. For me, this game just sort of confirmed that this team's really good. Yeah.
And I was talking with BA yesterday. I'm grabbing my tailgating shit from his from his RV, and we just this team still feels like a potential top 25 team. They, maybe just outside, whatever, like a top 30, top 35 team in the country. But in terms of trajectory of the season, what it does kind of bring attention to is, like, they have maybe the hardest schedule in the Pac-12. And the Pac-12 North has maybe one out in of the 6 teams. Plus they have USC and Utah. And then maybe you have Arizona State, might be an easy one. But you have to play Stanford on the road. That's your easy one. You get Arizona State in November at home. But then you look at Cal. Cal might be pretty fucking good. I don't know. Like, how good is Arizona? I don't know, but they beat the shit out of them. And then obviously USC is good, and we have to play at USC. And then you have to play UW is looking pretty fucking good, and you have to play them. But at least you get them at home. Utah, you get them at home on a fucking Thursday when there's going to be 10,000 people in the stadium.
Right.
Like, so the schedule is, if you look at compared to UW's schedule, they miss USC and Utah, and they get Colorado. Yeah, it's just this is such a hard schedule, and this game shows you that you have to play really fucking well to beat these teams, because WSU, what was their downfall? A pick six and a shitty rushing game, and in their defense just getting shredded in the back. Like because it exploits a good team with 4 or 5-star athletes. They're going to exploit what your weaknesses are. And Oregon did that. WSU still almost pulled it off. So, yeah, WSU is good, but also the schedule is tough. So they could be a very good 7-5 team.
It's true.
Because they last year there was a lot of shitty teams that they played. Let's be honest. Like the Pac-12 North was down. They were a solid team, but if they go 7-5 this year, it's going to be a way more impressive 7-5 than they did last year. So that's kind of where I'm at. That was kind of how I felt the start of the season too. This was never going to be an easy schedule, and they got that Wisconsin win, which was hard. They've already gotten one.
That's the big one, right? Like you've already got that one in your pocket.
This is one that if you had to go binary, you probably would have picked Oregon. I mean, obviously we picked WSU by narrow margins in our preview, but whatever. Like,
we were so close.
We
were so close too.
I was so close. I picked 21-17. I was so close. I definitely knew how this game was going. But yeah, I don't know. One thing you want to take away positives is that Cam Ward is just getting better and better.
Yeah,
and he's playing better teams and he's looking better. He played a better team, maybe not a better defense than Wisconsin's, but just as athletic of a defense as Wisconsin's, and he looked solid, and he got no help in the running game, like nothing at all. Now, Nakia Watson definitely did some things, in the passing game, some really nice plays made by Cam Ward that got to get him the ball, like incredible plays. Ward just did. This game was the first game where Cam Ward just made plays where you're like, okay, this dude has something. Like that shovel pass to Watson for a conversion for a huge gain, and he did it twice. That meaningless, but gamblers won't tell you that. Meaningless, 55-yard fucking bomb he threw on the run.
Yeah.
The dime he threw to Donovan Ollie on the last drive of the game. Like, he has the talent, and he's very clearly picking it up.
Yes.
Because he played, if we're talking about speed, the speed. Well, he played about as fast of a defense as he's going to see. Maybe not the best defense he's going to see, but about as fast of a defense he's going to see all year. Just played them. His numbers were pretty fucking good. And really, really good. You can say whatever you want about that last pick six. That is not on Cam Ward. That is on Eric Morris. That is on Eric Morris every time. Because we went to that well too many times.
I don't know what Morris.
I know that's true.
Like the offensive line can't block. You got a minute. You're trying to rip off something, right? And so you call another screen, and that wasn't quite the same screen, or at least it didn't look like the same kind of screen to me. And if he pulls it off, they get at least a first down. Stribling when Victor is downfield, he's got his dude locked up. Like there's at least a first down there if he gets it. I don't know how much more he gets, but and so what you get is, a
good start to your drive.
If I'm just guessing. Yeah. If I'm just guessing, I'm guessing Lanning, his defensive coordinator, whoever, talks to the ends and says, hey, feel free to just sort of drop off here, and clog up. They're going to run a screen at some point, which, they did. And, the rest is history. I don't know, man. I don't know what.
Yeah. What I'm saying is not
you can't blame Ward. I don't know if. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like his options
Maybe
were just
Ward
kind of limited,
Yeah, that we were. Yeah, if he drops back to pass, they did that the previous drive, and he got flushed out of the pocket and throw it away, which he had to do a lot. Like a lot of his incompletions in this game were just him throwing the ball away, which is also
a number
good
of his
trait.
completions were him running around and finding someone. So,
well, I would say we talk about QB sacks or a QB stat. there was definitely, I could think of at least one that was his fault, but like there was definitely some O-line sacks in this game.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I would.
Yeah. Like that. And the one that was really his fault was like just desperation mode at the end of the game, just trying to make a play. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of he just, like he just had no chance. Like he would just, if they were trying to run any sort of 5-step, 7-step drop, whatever, like he was just getting the people, they were on him. Like it was just not happening. But he's still 37 to 48, 375, 7.8 yards per attempt, which is not like insanely good, but against like competition, that's good. That's it. And Oregon's defense, looked pretty good last week, and maybe they are pretty good. I don't know. But 7.8, not bad. I mean, he looked like a good major conference quarterback, and maybe he's gotten closer and closer to that each game, and you just feel like he's progressing. Progression's not always linear, but it feels like he's getting better. He's getting comfortable, and that makes you feel better about the season. And to see Watson finally make some plays in the passing game, that's nice to see. See Renard Bell finally get in, kind of get into a game. Stribling and Ollie still both had nice games, so they're coming along. I'm loving. You see we're back to seeing like the massive spread of guys who catch the ball, like what we're used to in the air raid before. Where then we had the for a season and a half. Whatever. We had the run and shoot where like 3 guys will catch the ball. Now we're back to like 12 guys catching the ball, which is fun, or at least getting targets or whatever. So yeah, it's also what remind me of what this play was. I see Cam Ward negative 13 yards receiving.
Oh yeah, that ball got batted up in the air and then he caught it.
Oh, okay. I might have missed that.
Yep.
I might have missed that.
Yeah, that was a fun play where it was like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
When did that happen? I'm trying to think. Maybe I missed it.
I'm trying to remember.
The beer line's a little longer, and the game is sold out.
Let's see. Well, when I click on his name in the stats here, it only shows his passing stats. So.
Well, I see it.
Oh, that's right. I need to see it under the receiving stats. That's what I need to do. Receiving stats. Here we go.
Maybe. Yeah, 1 for negative 13.
Okay, hold on. Maybe this will do it. There we go. Third quarter, 9:36. Yeah. Yeah. That was on 3rd and 7 with 10:06 left in the.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I missed that. Pretty sure I missed that play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah. Okay. That was when they kicked
turned into a field goal.
Field goal. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So there you go. It was It's funny that we don't really remember it because it wasn't all that noteworthy. I think it sort of felt like it was 3rd and 7, on the Oregon 8. So more or less 3rd and goal. But it just sort of, again, the drive sort of stalled out. It didn't. I don't know. To me, it didn't feel like it stuck out that much simply because it was like, well, they didn't convert, and that's kind of what it was. Probably would have remembered it more if Janikowski had maybe missed the field goal or something, but he didn't. So yeah.
All right. So one thing we definitely have to talk about, and we usually don't talk about losses for this long, but we have to talk about this, the officiating, just peak Pac-12 form. And there's a couple, but we got to talk about how they just fucking miscounted downs. What on earth? And so I'll say when that happened, I was sitting next to a guy and he goes, and he says, he asked me oh, what down is it? I was like, oh, it was first down. It's a loss of down on, it was first down. There's loss of down on intentional grounding. It's second down. But he says, no, it says third down on the scoreboard. It says third down on the marker. And I was like,
yep.
I don't know. I've had a few drinks. Maybe I'm fucking wrong. Maybe I'm remembering. Like, it's like,
Well, okay.
you're getting gaslighted into this. Like, oh, it's third down. I guess I don't know.
So I was working on something with the website or something at that moment. Like I was paying attention, but not paying attention enough to be like, wait a second, it's second down. I was like, wait a minute, isn't it second? Where did
I
second
said
down?
that like most people, like it's second down, and they're like, no, it's third down.
Like, okay, I guess it's third down. I just was like, I was the same way. I was like, well, okay, I guess it's third down, and then PJ's going crazy on the Slack, going, what happened to second down? What happened to second down? And then I rewound it, and I was like, holy shit, they did skip second down.
And then something happened. Something happened I've never seen happen before. I gotta say, I've never seen this happen.
Yeah.
WSU ran basically 2 plays since that fuck up. They ran a give up draw because they thought it was 3rd and 17 or 3rd and 16 or whatever. And then they punted.
Yep.
And then in the TV timeout, we see they're going to review something. And when you're in the stadium, and I don't even know if they knew on TV, but when you're in the stadium, you have no fucking clue what they're talking about. Like, what is happening? And I'm guessing they figured it out on TV. Because they must have noticed.
Yeah.
But like in the stadium, they kind of
figured it out.
And the stadium comes out, and then they realize all of a sudden the offense is running back on the field. But the frustrating thing about it is they went back to third down and not second down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
that was the problem.
Anyone that knows anything about football knows that you're calling a different play on 2nd and 16 versus 3rd and 16 every single time. That dictates how you call a play.
Yep.
They definitely would have thrown the ball on 2nd and 16. They potentially could have gotten 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know how many fucking yards. And it would not have been 3rd and 17 is what they set them up at. Because they took that 1 yard loss they got on 2nd and 16, and they're like, okay, so it's 3rd and 17, because it was 4th and 17, so now it's 3rd and 17, and so that's so frustrating, and so WSU still gets fucked over, even when they try to fix it, which I've never seen them rewind 2 plays before.
Yep,
I've never seen that happen before.
No,
I didn't even know that was possible.
Well, and if it's possible to rewind 2 plays, it's possible to rewind 3 plays, right? Like I don't know, man. It was, there were so many things. That was number one. The intentional grounding that led to that was bullshit to begin with. Like Ward had moved to his left, and
out of the pocket.
We can sort of parse, I guess, if you want to try and parse inches as to whether he was out of the pocket or not, but he had definitely moved to an area where they usually give the quarterback the benefit of the doubt. Now he moved back in, but it's like, that's not, once you're out, you're out. And I guess, again, they just determined that he wasn't really out or something, which again makes no sense. Like we see all the time where quarterbacks were like, he's not in the pocket, or he's in the pocket, right? He's not out of the pocket. And referees are just like, yeah, close enough. We're trying to protect quarterbacks here. And I'm like, I can't really argue with that. But at the same time, then you see that happen and you're just like, fuck, man. Like he was right there just past the left tackle and then came back in, and, calling that intentional grounding again is just like, it's just silly. There was the interception that, is the epitome of why replay is so utterly stupid, because it's like, oh, we're going to fix all the bad calls. And it's like, no, you're not. No, you're not. You're not going to fix most of the bad calls. Most of the calls are just going to be whatever they were called on the field. Like, that's it.
Well, here's how that one, the interception, which we're talking about, the interception around midfield, it was called an interception on the field. I think it was Ollie. Caught a ball over the middle. Oh, sorry, Leighton Smithson. He caught a ball over the middle, may have dropped it, but here's the thing. The ball was underneath him. So if he dropped it, it would have touched the ground. Or he would have caught it before it touched the ground. And then he went to the ground. So it's either going to be a catch or an incomplete pass. Because the ball is underneath him. There is no way he's going to not have caught the ball and carry through. And then be face down on the ground, ball underneath him, and then somehow roll over with how would that not be a complete pass?
It made
but still
the
be
TV,
live.
But the TV replay, this is the issue, is that the TV replay doesn't show conclusively what happened. It does not conclusively show the ball touching the ground, right? It does not conclusively show control when he goes to the ground. Plausibly, you could say his hand was under the ball, he didn't have control, and the ball popped up, which apparently is whatever the referee thought they saw. And so you're sitting here, and it's like, look, common sense would tell you that clearly all of the things you just said were true, right? Like common sense would tell you that's all that what you just described is exactly what happened. Except once they make the call on the field, now you've got to have evidence that that is the wrong call. And that is why, again, I bang the drum and I bang the drum and I bang the drum and annoy people to death by saying things like ban replay. Because it's like it does not do what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to fix stuff. It so often does not fix stuff.
In the suite, we do have like the TV broadcast. So we're seeing all the replays and we're like, yeah, that they're going to reverse that. Like, what the fuck? There's no way he didn't either have control or that was an incomplete pass. Yeah. Like, and they come out and we're like, what? Are you kidding me? And then that is the 1 3-and-out that happened in the game was right after that. And I tweeted, that's the most satisfying 3-and-out I've ever seen.
Yes.
Because that, like, you had this feeling at the time, like, with what the things that had transpired, you're like, oh, they're out to get us here. This is match fixy. Like, this is bullshit.
There was another play, like, I want to say on one of the last drives. I don't remember which one exactly, but Nakia Watson damn near got his head ripped off with a face mask, and that wasn't called. That was... So, yeah, I think that was on the drive after Oregon had pulled within 5 or whatever they pulled it. Like, what they had pulled within a score and we got the ball back with like 3.5 minutes left. Nakia Watson's head got ripped off and it was not called a face mask, which would have obviously had a that was the 3rd and 13. That was the 3rd and 13. Yeah, which was the with 2:44 to go, pass to the right, complete for 2 yards. Nakia Watson out of bounds.
Might have made
clock stopped or something, or maybe he wasn't out of bounds. I don't know. But
they ran the clock. I thought.
I don't know. I think that so the referee like waved his arm to stop the clock pretty much immediately, and we were all on Slack just kind of going bonkers, like he was in bounds, and then
I was doing the same.
Yeah, I think Oregon sort of like called timeout simultaneously with the tackle. I think
that's what was so confusing. Yeah.
But anyway, it just again, that was where we were talking about like if you just pick up one first down, right? You just pick up one first down. That changes the math so much at 2:44. Well, like you pick, and if they get the 15-yard face mask there, like they should have. And again, I'm not begging for refs to bail us out. Again, these are things like we can say both things are true. We can say that the offense was inept, and we can also say that the referees screwed up and should have made a different call. But again, if you do that, now it's it's 2:44. Oregon calls a timeout, and then now you're running 40 seconds off the clock, right? Like, you're taking 1:20 off the clock. They get the ball back with, even if you just go run, don't get another first down. They're getting the ball back with like a minute and they've got 80 yards to go. Now, maybe maybe they pick up 80 yards in a minute, no problem. But maybe they don't, So anyway, I don't know. It's there were so many things that were a bummer. The officiating, it was funny. Bryce Hendrick, who's one of our basketball guys, said he was sitting around Oregon fans, and they were convinced that they were getting screwed by the refs. And I'm like, well, then they are idiots, because there's no way you can look at this game and think that somehow Oregon was the one who was screwed by the officiating.
I would say that insane. There was that, on the drive that put WSU up 12 in the fourth, that it was obvious the hit to the head on Cam. That's an obvious penalty. They're always going to call that.
Yep.
The targeting call, I could see that one was a little weird. Like, we all thought it was going to get reversed. Like, we were okay.
For what it's worth, I think the key on that one was he really launched himself. Yeah. And that seems to be the thing that they're really looking for.
It's hard to figure out.
The targeting, non-targeting call that we had last week, we were like, well, that's definitely going to be targeting. And then it got reversed, and we were like, okie dokie.
Straight up helmet to a helmet.
Yeah.
I don't even, you're like, what is
but
is
he
this
didn't
anymore?
He didn't load and launch into him. He kind of ran into him. And so I'm thinking that's kind of thing. But yeah, to your point, you just kind of go, I don't know. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But all the other penalties were, and again, Oregon didn't have very many penalties. That's where I'm like, I'm not sure how you could be convinced that the refs are screwing you when you only had I don't know, 5, 6 legit penalties. I know they had 8 overall, but it was again, one was a delay.
Refs aren't screwing you on a false start.
No, I don't know what you thought was not legit. But I don't know. I don't know. I guess if there's a silver lining here, it's not a silver lining for us, but for the Pac-12 that, we've got 4 teams in the top 15 now, so I guess that's good, right? Yeah,
congrats, Pac-12.
Yay,
we did
it. Congrats,
it.
Pac-12. So
now don't leave Oregon.
Yeah,
we gave you some calls. Don't leave.
Yeah, now you got to stay forever.
Yeah. But I will say, not blaming the refs for the loss, but there definitely could be some things that might have went a little bit different if they were called a little bit differently.
It certainly contributed. You can't argue that. When one of them is when basically you're saying refs were responsible for 2 turnovers, because that's basically what it is. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big. Those are 2 really big things.
I mean, when they miscount downs, it's just the most basic fucking thing you have to do. And they don't even though Jake Dickert was screaming at them about it, they don't even stop the game.
So insane.
I feel like you have to stop the game. Oh, and they did a lot.
They will stop the game
all the time to talk about it,
and they wouldn't stop the game there. I'm like, whatever.
No one sat there and thought wait, it was first and now it's second. That's how math works.
This coach is insistent that it's actually second down, and we're just going to be nah.
If there's any question about what down it is, I feel like you should always stop the game.
Well, how many seconds does it take to figure it out? 15?
Right? You could just go, wait.
Stop games for minutes
what plays were
to
they?
Stare at a screen. Just stop the game for 10 seconds.
If you have the screen, I mean, they wouldn't even need a screen. And someone just be like, oh, yeah, I'm looking at it up here, and you guys fucked that one up.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's what I'm saying. I mean, they'll stop a game for 5 minutes to stare at a screen, but they won't stop it for 10 seconds when the coach is like, it's second down. It's second down. I wish Dickert would have called timeout because he would have gotten it back.
Yeah.
But still, it's it's not his fault. I'm not going to blame him for it. He's not the one who fucked up. I'm not going to blame him and be like, well, why did you call timeout? He should have, no doubt. But also, I don't know, is it his job to figure, is it his job to know the optimal strategy when the referees completely fuck up the number of downs? Probably not. So, I give him a pass.
To wrap it up, just, with all that shit that happened, all the shit we've talked about, pick sixes, weird fucking fumble interception things and weird like miscounting it down, weird fucking plays, missed ref calls. Probably one of the most bonkers football games I've ever seen. Like, that was just an insane football game. Pac-12 in the middle of the day, I guess. That was just nuts, and it was on Fox. It sucked because you got on Twitter after the game, and it's just like everyone is talking about our loss. Like, it's like, fuck. Like, if we would have held on, like, everyone would have been talking about how WSU beat Oregon. Because everyone saw it. Everyone was watching that fucking game. Like, all of college football Twitter was watching that game. And it was...
But I will say that we seem to pick up some respect out of the deal, though. Which, I mean, is certainly not what you most want. But, you know, I mean, we saw that the team picked up a few more AP votes, right? Even in their loss.
Yeah.
The thing that I kept hearing or kept seeing on Twitter a lot was, hey, you know, Wazoo lost, but they're legit. Like, that team is legit. Like, they are good. They got their shit. Like, or, you know, and by the way, on a personal level, I think, you know, I picked Oregon to win the division heading into the season. Like, I was like, I think Oregon is going to be the best team in the North. I think they're going to play for the Pac-12 championship, and I think they will legit challenge Utah. I was wavering on that after the Georgia game, but I'm not wavering on that nearly as much now. I think they are absolutely good, and I think most people who watch that game would go, yeah, like, Oregon's talent and whatever, like, rose to the top. But Wazoo, man, that's a good-ass team. And I think there's some value in that. Like, even – and, you know, the other thing is, I don't think you get that if that game is not on Big Fox like that. Because, like, if that game's, you know, hidden away on Pac-12 Network, what you always get is – or if it's like it – let's say that's at 7 o'clock at night on Pac-12 Network. People wake up the next morning and go – yeah, same old Pac-12. Oregon's not really that good, right? Look, they barely escaped Wazoo. Like, come on. You know, but if you actually watched that game, you're like, well, fuck, man, this was two really good teams. Like, you cannot watch that game and come away with anything else other than that. Like, you just go, yeah, Wazoo's good. Like, their offense is good. And, you know, and Oregon, they damn near pulled it off. And Oregon is, you know, like, they snuck it out in the end and, you know, just made some plays that you'd expect a really good team to make. And, you know, it just seemed to be kind of one of those, even though WSU lost, it really seemed like on some level they kind of won. And I know that getting into the top 25 is not the goal. It's not the end game or anything like that. But, you know, you beat Cal this weekend. You're certainly jumping into the top 25. I mean, barring something weird, like everybody in the top 25 wins their game or something. But, you know, you're almost certainly jumping into the top 25, heading into, you know, a game against USC, which also is over the air. Like,
also in the middle of the day.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit later. I think it's at 4:30, but still, it's like, you know,
4.
prime. It's prime time, right? You know,
that's
I mean,
probably even better. Yeah.
To be honest, yeah, it's not bad at all. So,
and it's USC, so a lot of teams will watch it.
Yep,
so
and it might, you know, could, you know, you take care of business this weekend against Cal. Very strong possibility that you're talking about a matchup between two ranked teams, which I think is what, you know, Fox is sort of banking on there. So, yeah, I mean, even though they lost, I think they won. I think honestly, that was what I think was sort of the message of Stevens' column about, you know, it's, you know, being a winning team, like even in a loss, they're a winning team. And I think I think that's a point well taken, man. They're figuring it out. They're really well coached. You know, Cam Ward.
A lot of new guys this year. We can't forget that. Like, there's a new coach. Yeah. There's a lot of new players. We did not return a lot of starters. And to come back and play as well as they have, this is territory that WSU we don't always have. You know, we don't have like teams not return, you know, half their starters and then are actually good. Like, it's so. This is impressive, and they brought in guys like Ward and Henley and that are making impacts, and it's you know, yeah, like they should be Cal, but like I guess after the break we'll talk a bit about Cal. We talked so long about that fucking game, like, but we gotta preview the next one too a bit, but we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about Cal. We'll talk about some sad basketball news, kind of sad, kind of bummer basketball news, and then, wrap up the soccer and volleyball weekends as well. So yeah, stick around. We'll be right back.
Back.
All right, quickly, Jeff, because we are already over an hour in this thing. What are you drinking?
I am drinking the Shamanic Whip Pale Ale by Wayfinder. It's delicious.
Very good.
Yeah, easy drinking beer.
Very good.
It's like the ABV is like under 5%. Like it is absolutely delicious. It's not quite. It seems like this would be more of an October Halloween type beer, just. Not in style, but just in can design. It appears to have a ghost on it.
Have you not? I mean, Wayfinder is all of that. They're always
I know. But this one is sort of.
They're a heavy metal. They're a heavy metal brewery. Like
this one is especially heavy metal though. Because I've got another.
I mean,
one
have
here
you seen
that
their?
I'm trying to decide whether to drink.
Have you seen their Italian Pilsner that they?
I have.
Sell like most of the year. The can on that one. Very good Halloween can that they sell.
This one
year.
is the other one. I'm trying to decide whether I want to drink is the Jazz Witch Cold IPA as well. But that one's not nearly as heavy metal. It's got like a raven on it, and this other one's got creepy girl.
A raven is pretty heavy metal, dude. Come on,
it is. But I just mean
raven is death.
I'm talking about Halloween imagery, creepy imagery, like this creepy girl on this other can is.
Shamanic Whip.
Definitely creepier. So, anyway, delicious.
And
this is Shamanic Whip 5. The Shaman's Revenge. So,
maybe I haven't had that
clear and
one,
mildly sinister American Pale Ale. So, yeah, delicious. It's really good.
Nice.
What about you?
Yes, and always, if you're in Portland, if my opinion, the first brewery you should stop at is Wayfinder. But
yeah,
others may differ. But I am drinking, with homecoming coming up, people may not like the color of the can here because it is kind of green and gold, but I am drinking from my home town of Yakima, a brewery that is literally on a hop farm. Bale Breaker, all of you will know that one. Homegrown IPA, fresh hop IPA. So they, I guess technically they're in Moxie, which is actually where most of the hop farms are, is in Moxie, Washington. But Yakima Valley claims them. So here in Moxie, Washington, September means harvest, coordinating with the barley maltster as the fruity herbal smells of fresh hops being cut and kilned waft in our windows. Now in our third season as barley farmers, they also do barley as well. And 90 years after the first hops were planted on our family farm, we're proud to share with you this homegrown IPA featuring our homegrown hops and barley, notes of ripe lemon, grapefruit, blueberry, pine, resin, and fresh cut grass. Very good. If you don't know that history behind Bale Breaker, basically their parents owned a hop farm. They cut out part of it to start a brewery. And so they are literally on a hop farm. And so they brewed lots of fresh hop beers during fresh hop season. Very tasty. I've homegrown because homecoming is coming up this weekend. I thought that fit well. But yeah, it's fresh hop season, baby. So riding another fresh hop.
Woo!
But yeah, speaking of homecoming, it's motherfucking Cal week. Why? Homecoming's supposed to be fun. And we got and we got like the most miserable team to play, this side of Washington, California, Cal week, Cal bullshit. All of it is here. But as you mentioned in the Slack, Jeff, it's hard to get a gauge now because the Cal bullshit is not the type of bullshit that we're usually expecting. Maybe we're going back to the Jared Goff days of Cal bullshit.
Maybe
the Sonny Dykes Cal bullshit days. We are no longer in the Justin Wilcox era type. That we're expecting type. Grind it out Cal bullshit. Like this is more. They actually have a good offense this year.
Yeah,
like
reasonably good.
Yeah,
I mean they are eighth in the conference in yards per play overall. 6.13.
Yeah, that's pretty good for them.
Which is actually ahead of us, but we also played Wisconsin. And Cal's is being propped up a little bit by going for 9 yards of play against Arizona. So that's kind of part of what's going on.
Arizona beat North Dakota State, all right?
Yeah. And also beat
Find me a better win in the conference than that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, how many other teams have beat a champ? I don't know. Just Arizona, apparently. But yeah, I mean, Cal has... I don't know how... I didn't watch that game against Arizona. I don't know how much to read into it. They dropped, 49, right?
Yep.
And their
they also
running
gave
back,
up 31.
Yes, and their freshman running back ran for 274 yards. So I don't know what I'm supposed to read into that. If I'm supposed to think like, oh wow, Cal's offense is actually good. I mean, I don't know.
But he's run it. So he ran for, what do you say, 274 in that one?
Yes.
The rest of the other 3 games of the season, he has less than 200 yards total.
Right. Yep. So, I don't know, man. I mean, he had 104 against UC Davis, 52 against UNLV, 33 on 13 carries against Notre Dame. So, obviously not, he was, pretty good against UC Davis and UNLV, but not exactly a super heavy workload. And then he just sort of explodes against Arizona. So I don't know, man. All we know is, with Cal, things will get weird. We don't know how. We don't know why. Trying to guess is a fool's errand. So don't even try. We just know things will be weird. I don't know. What's the weather going to be like? Is it going to be nice? Should be nice, right?
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah. It's going to be
so that's
perfecto.
Good. Yeah. 2:30 kickoff, afternoon kickoff. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't care what they did to Arizona. They don't scare me on offense. So
gonna have Chris is gonna bring his van. Ooh, and I'm using my premium VIP parking spot we're gonna be parking that shit in the fanciest lot. We're in the fanciest, not tailgating lot, but the fanciest lot. Parking that van, do a little van gating.
Woo!
Van gating with all the Richie Richards.
Fantastic. That sounds fantastic. Love that.
So we get the premium one because it's like it's basically 4 people paying into one person's thing.
Yeah.
Just don't worry about it. It's not.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So we get that premium spot. And we're gonna take that big old white Econoline van, park that in there. Hopefully that'll counteract some of the Cal bullshit, just being weirdos like that. But yeah, that running back, I don't know, maybe he hit his stride like a la Jerome Harrison in like 2004, and maybe he's just going to be a fucking monster now. I don't know. Or maybe this is just, maybe Arizona just had a real bad day.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's entirely plausible that Arizona is actually not that good, considering they've been horrendous for years. And
I will. So
the thought about Arizona was like, oh wow, look at how bad they beat San Diego State. Like San Diego State's pretty good, and then as it turns out, San Diego State is actually not pretty good. San Diego State's actually quite bad, and so it's like, okay, we overreact to these week 1 things, and Arizona, as it turns out, probably also is still not very good. Better, but not very good. I was talking with my principal today, who's an Arizona guy. And I was like, yeah, so hey, how you feeling about the Wildcats? He's kind of like, and I'm like, how you liking the Jaden DeLora experience? And he's like, it's like, I'm like, no, you all are getting the full experience, man. Like he will he will electrify you, and then he will make you like scratch your head so hard that you practically start bleeding on your scalp. Like there doesn't seem to be a lot in between, and this year has just been more of that.
If you want one piece of as we're trying to rush through this preview, obviously, but because we don't want to keep you here forever, but one really piece of encouraging evidence through these first 4 games is they give up a fuck ton of TFLs. They've given up 12, especially in the passing game. Basically, if you add in the sacks plus the pass attempts, 151. They've given up 12 sacks. That's almost 8%. That's an insanely high sack rate. That's a good sign for WSU. We are not playing the same offensive line that we played this last week. This is a different level. WSU can get those negative plays that they were not getting against Oregon. Cal, can do. So they've also had 10 negative plays in the rushing game. And so that just negative plays will be a possibility again in this game, which that's very encouraging. Our defense needs those to be successful. So look to see maybe Deion Henley get back to sacking the quarterback, maybe RJ Stone or Brennan Jackson, just someone get a few sacks in there and some drives that way. That'd be something I would expect to happen. Cal definitely is very leaky on the offensive line in terms of pass protection. So hopefully that they can do that. They've also not been particularly super effective in passing, and so maybe they cannot exploit WSU in the same way that Oregon did, especially if they can't protect the quarterback as well. So that's a encouraging thing. So hopefully we can see a defensive bounce back, and that's just what you hope. And then in terms of defense, their defense hasn't been like horrendous by any stretch, but also like you alluded to, they haven't played a super tough schedule. Like, how good is Notre Dame? Are they even good? I don't even know. Like, they definitely have good talent, so you give them credit for going into Notre Dame and almost beating them, but that doesn't, mean a lot. I would say probably Wisconsin is probably better than Notre Dame this year, and WSU went and beat Wisconsin, so what are you going to do? So I don't know. Their defense seems definitely not on par with some of the Wilcox defenses. But still, maybe solid enough. Probably not as good as some of the defenses WSU's already seen. So it'd be great to see Cam continue his progression forward. Have it maybe bump his YPA up over 8 for the first time. I think it's probably over 8 for Colorado State, but against a like opponent to get over 8 would be nice. Jeff, let's just skip right to it. What's since we've done all this research, went really in depth into this. What's your score prediction?
Yeah, like predicting Cal is like insanity, like last year's game, we went in as a touchdown underdog and walked out with a surprisingly easy 21-6 win, right? I think is what it was.
Yeah.
So, I just remember that game feeling like, Cal's got nothing today.
So the Cougs in this one are 3.5 point favorites, yes. Which is basically that means Vegas thinks we're pretty much even in terms of quality.
Which I don't buy at all, actually. So I'm not sure where that comes from. So I'm going to go ahead and say we are going to comfortably cover 31-21. Cougs win, move to 4-1, jump into the top 25. Ready for a giant showdown in Los Angeles against USC.
Nice. Over under 30 or 53.5. So you would be predicting an under there.
Barely.
Right?
Yeah.
Barely. Still counts. I'm going to go with an over here. I'll just say, because Cal bullshit, there'll be some Cal gets some bullshit touchdown somewhere. And WSU, though, puts up 5 touchdowns, 35-24. WSU gets out of here. Nice win on homecoming. We have a good time. Van Gating. It's just a good day. So yeah, no, you're an idiot gifts this week because we don't like those in the loss or in losses. But yeah, I would. It would be awesome to win homecoming 4-1. I hope the crowd is good. It's homecoming, so you expect it should be at least mostly full. And a good start time. Kind of that pristine, perfect start time of 2:30, and so easy for Spokanites, Tri-Cities folk, all those to do an out and back and all that. Hopefully we can have a good crowd. Hopefully the Oregon loss. To me, it should just losing that should, if you had positivity about this team, it shouldn't have killed it. I could see being sad about the loss, but you should still feel like we have a good football team. Come out and watch it. Plus, it's homecoming. Come see your old friends. Come go get your mug at the Coug or whatever. Remember, call ahead so they bring it out. But so all that stuff. So hopefully we have a fun weekend, and because we need to cleanse. I need to cleanse that the bad losses. You always hope you can cleanse it right away. Seems like Cal's always that team. Like there's having a tough time. Here, come play us. It's gonna be like motherfucking bullshit all day.
Yeah, I know.
You might win, but we're gonna take a pound of flesh on the way. It's fine.
Yeah. This is really important. Like as much as we joke, like it's one thing. Kind of the way I closed out my opening part of my Monday column was like season for a program like WSU. Seasons aren't made in the games against Oregon; they're made in the games against Cal. And teams like Cal, not necessarily Cal itself, but just, teams like Cal. Yeah. Like it's like, we say it sort of again and again and again, but you've built up this equity and you want to keep the equity. And so to keep the equity, you got to beat Cal, so if you lose to Cal, now all of a sudden you're like, well, shit, we're 0-2 in the Pac-12, right? We just had 2 consecutive losses at home. Whatever good vibes there were from Wisconsin are feeling a little more shaky now. You just like this is just a game. It's a game you need to win, and whatever it takes, you got to figure out a way to win this particular game because you just as we always talk about, you got to kind of separate yourself from from the teams that are in that second or third tier, however you want to sort of set up the tiers. But it's like you gotta beat Cal, you gotta beat Arizona, you gotta beat Arizona State, because you're gonna have those tough games. You're gonna play at USC, and already, obviously it's not USC week yet, but I'm already thinking like, holy shit, how our safety's gonna cope in that one, right? And you look at Utah and you're like, okay, well that one's gonna be a mess for various reasons, and Washington, as much as we want to feel good about the Apple Cup again, and they've got the kind of offense that kind of scares you a little. So Cal is the kind of game that you got to get. You got to get it, and I think we will. It's like obviously for my prediction, I think we will. But I really do. I really do think we're a better team than Cal, and that doesn't always mean you win, but that's a good place to start from.
Yeah. And so come on, Cougs. Let's do this. So let's transition a bit to we didn't expect to talk about men's hoops this week, but some pretty significant news today. Dishon Jackson announcing that he is out indefinitely to deal with some medical issues. We had kind of not seen him in a lot of like the practice highlight videos. He wasn't there with the team when they talked. They had the team on the field in one of the timeouts against Oregon, and that was pretty notable that he wasn't there. And a lot of people started notice that, I think. But yeah, so he's not going to be. when you say indefinitely medical issues, it just to me sounds like he's probably not going to play this season. Like
that sounds like don't count on it. Is what that sounds like to me.
Yeah, which definitely I don't want to speculate too much. I just hope. All I want to say is I don't want. We could talk about how this affects the lineup later. I just want to say I hope he's okay.
Yeah.
I think take care of your health. Do what's best for your family, and be around the people that can support you in a time like that. And I hope Dishon's okay, both physically and mentally. Obviously, being away from the kind of his bread and butter is his sport. Not being able to play it probably pretty rough, but just hopefully Dishon's okay. Hopefully he comes through this, whether he plays for the Cougs, whether anything. Just hope he's healthy and hope he's happy.
Yeah, I mean that's it. It's the you don't normally put out statements like that if if it's no big deal or if you're day to day or week to week. And I think you can sort of read between the lines on that stuff, even if it's not explicit about potentially what's going on. So, like you said, most important is that he's healthy. Whatever it is that's going on, I hope that they're able to sort of figure out pretty quickly. And if it involves continuing to play basketball, then great. If it doesn't, then also, I hope he's all right. So, it's a bummer. Like you said, we'll sort of explore what it means for for the team and the rotation going forward. But there's time for all that later. Kyle Smith had a press conference today because they're starting practicing. So that's kind of why it's out there. And Dishon put out his statement, but there'll be time to kind of break down what it means, and it is a bummer. Both it's a bummer on the court, but again We'll talk more about that later. I just, when a college athlete puts out something like that, it just sounds kind of ominous, right? Like, he obviously was very vague, but you're also like, okay, so usually when things are vague, that's also that sort of also adds its own little ominous vibe to the situation. So, yep, like you, just hope he's healthy.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely wanted to mention that. Good wishes to Dishon and his family, and then, let's switch. We usually wrap up these things and talk about soccer and volleyball. Both big weekends for both. Let's start with soccer. Sydney Studer came up with a goddamn game winner against her former team. That's got to be the most satisfying thing to happen, right?
You would think so. I mean, I don't know if she has ill will. Yeah, I don't know if she has ill will.
I know, but it doesn't matter.
At the very least, at the very least, you're like, haha, No, and it was a really good goal too. I mean, she, crossed into the box, and she, it wasn't like she just sort of got a flick on or something, didn't really know where it was going. She had her feet on the ground.
Very
and
skillful.
Really, yep, she aimed it toward the corner and looped it right over the keeper. Incredible goal. One of what could have been 3 or 4 goals, as has been sort of the case with the team. But
Frimpong Ellerton had you just saw her the way she just
collapsed, put her head down.
She
just put her head down.
How did I miss that? She had half the net open. Yeah, she did one time it, so it was kind of a weird.
I felt like she made the right choice to try and place it, to the corner, rather than try to bang it. So she did it. She beat the keeper. Like it just needed to be, I don't know, 3 inches, 4 inches to the right. And it just tucks right inside the post. So. There was that one. There was one later with Detrizio where she tried to kind of poke it with the outside of her boot to the far side, kind of Jordan Morris style. Didn't really work out for her, So, but I think as we kind of think about going forward, Oregon State is kind of a spunky team. It's a team that WSU should have beat, and they did, and that's great. I think on the road, clean sheet. Those are all things that haven't been necessarily
3 straight.
Yeah, 3 straight clean sheets. Those things
After
haven't always been a given.
Before that, right?
Yep. So, well, they did have a 0-0 draw against Portland, but
that's right.
It was, but they had definitely been leaking goals for most of the season. So, to come up with that clean sheet, to get the goals, to really, and look, Oregon State, to their credit, played really well early on. They were, the possession was really 50-50. The shots were about 50-50 in the first half. So Oregon State played really hard, but they just they really ran out of steam. Like they just, to keep up with WSU and the depth that they have is really challenging for a team. Oregon State was really trying to press and take the game to the Cougs. I think their plan really was to try and get a goal, try and nick a goal, and then maybe sit back and absorb. They never did nick that goal. They honestly didn't really come all that close to getting that goal, and so WSU finally flipped the script. I don't know, maybe about the 55th, 60th minute, and then it was really just sort of constant pressure from there on out, and looked really good. So now they come back home. I think they got Colorado right on Thursday.
Colorado and Utah.
Yeah, Colorado and Utah this weekend. Two very beatable teams. Which is good.
Utah's that perfect time for everyone going over for homecoming. A noon start on Sunday.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I have not yet brought it up with Amanda about staying, but I'm going to because she might want to go get the kids back from her parents or whatever, but I'm gonna try to talk Amanda and her my now brother-in-law, my sister-in-law into maybe stay. They could leave. I don't care. But as long as I get Amanda to stay, because, we're in the same car. I guess because she could leave with her brother if she wants. I don't care.
I guess so, yeah.
But I would really, really like to stay and watch that game. Because it's kind of that. Been hoping for that. And that's the one. I think it might be the only one football where it worked out that way. So, yeah, I hope to see a lot of people in the crowd, the leftover homecoming crowd.
Yep.
Watch this team, which looks to be a very good team. I mean, they're 7-1-1 right now.
Yep.
And good shot at being 9-1-1 coming out of this weekend. So very good team as usual. Now looking at volleyball, terrible start to the week. Getting absolutely obliterated by Washington. Just getting crushed by Mike Bush's fucking daughter.
Characterizing it as absolutely obliterated is not that is not overselling it. It was really not good.
Yeah, there have been some epic matches between these two teams.
Yeah.
Or these two schools recently, and there was nothing close. So you talk about hit percentage, which you can kind of equate to batting average. They're kind of similar. What's good is similar. What's good in baseball is similar to what's good in volleyball. Kill percentage. I'm sorry, or hit percentage, whatever they call it. It's 41% for UW, less than 50% for Wazoo. That tells the story right there. They just weren't finishing their chances when they got them. UW looked very big, very athletic. WSU is missing key. They're kind of really light in the like the middle blocker, the defensive area right now. Outside of Magda, they don't have much. They've had some injuries, and so they're struggling with that. And UW exploited that. And part of that was also Mike Bush's daughter, which really hurts extra, man. It hurts extra. But you have a Cougar great in two different sports. His daughter goes to UW, and
what's up with that? How do you let that happen?
Destroying.
How do you let that happen? Can't let that.
Come on, Mike.
Come on, man.
But yeah, they bounced back though on the weekend. Huge win, 5-set win over USC in Los Angeles. Huge win. Because you kind of after they had lost 3 in a row. probably the three best teams outside of BYU, three of the better teams. They've really struggled against good teams. We've seen in the past before Greeny got here, and in Greeny's early seasons, they would have these kind of really good non-conference schedules against beating up on lower teams, that there was like this huge gap between they were kind of in the middle. They were a lot better than the lower teams, a lot worse than the better teams, and they've closed that gap over time. But once you see these, losing 3 sets to UW, losing 3 sets to BYU, losing 4 sets to Minnesota, you kind of maybe they are farther away, but you don't be able to get a win on the road against USC, and then this weekend you have Cal and Stanford coming in, also on Sunday but on the road at the same time as the soccer game. So it's just another big weekend, but another road game. It'll be there'll be a lot of home games after this because they had 4 consecutive road matches to start Pac-12 play. So if they could steal one against Cal, I'm not gonna expect a one against Stanford, but if they could steal one against Stanford too, but if they steal one against Cal and they come out 2-2 from this 4-game road stretch to start the season, they got to be feeling at least decent about that. Probably don't feel good about how the way the Washington match went, but at least it's only 1 loss. You come out, you're 2-2, and you can kind of work from there.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Home matches.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. This stretch is I don't know that I've ever seen anything like it. Like they have not played a match at home in a long time. And not only that, like a lot of these matches, obviously we're in conference play now, but they were playing tournaments and stuff, and so they're playing 2-3 matches on the road. So this is their 4th consecutive sort of weekend away from home, which is kind of nuts. I imagine the non-conference portion was set before they got the conference schedule. That'd be my guess.
Yes.
Because I can't imagine there was anything intentional about what this is. And so, then, you schedule that up. You're playing at, Fairfield, right? And then at Minnesota. And then you're like, okay, well, Pac-12 play. And then Pac-12 slaps you with 2 road trips to start, the conference season. Like, so I don't know how you really cope with that, but this is a really, really tough stretch. And I think you're right. I think if they can split, I think they're tickled. And then they feel great about that if they can pick up 1 down there.
Yeah, and looking way ahead, it's kind of cool that the return UW match is the night before the Apple Cup in Pullman. So that's pretty sick. They should always schedule things like that. I love that. Maybe they do. Maybe I feel like they've definitely done that before. But like that is awesome. That should make for an amazing atmosphere. So I like that. But yeah, there's a lot of home games left. They do have another 4 games matches in a row on the road in November. So I guess they just like to bunch them. It's because they have after this, they have. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 6 of the next 8 will be home matches after this weekend. So, yeah, you just gotta survive, and then maybe hopefully it's you get some home cooking in the future. But yeah, so volleyball, huge to get that win at USC. Kind of keeps you afloat a bit. It keeps you out of the danger zone as much. So, but they still, if they want to get back to the tournament, they're going to need to stack wins at some point because they don't have a lot of like big wins in non-conference. So, they're going to need to beat some teams that they shouldn't beat at some point. So hopefully they'll get that opportunity, especially with some of these home matches coming up. But yeah, so, I guess Jeff, with that, I'll say, let's do our plugs. If you, I haven't even looked at the email today. Maybe I should do that real quick. I bet no one sent an email, but we'll look real quick. Nope, no emails. We're good. But if you do want to send us an email with a question, we always answer it. We always answer it. It may be a month later, but we always answer it. And so that's podcast versus everyone at gmail.com. You can send us whatever you want. Sometimes people just send us comments and they're not really questions, but whatever. I generally respond to them unless it's, spam or something. And then if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at the Craig Powers. Jeff on Twitter is at pod versus everyone. I put a lot of WSU content on my Instagram lately. So at Craig W Powers, if you want to see that. Got a like from DJ Goldfinger the other day. So, I'm living life well, That's a shout out to all my Mike's era comrades there. And then, that's, I guess, Jeff, that's it. That's all. And so we will say, go Cougs.
Go Cougs, Craig. Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Get that booster.
Another booster. Go do it.